today's mindful moment.
Have you ever noticed how some people don't exactly start out as the stars of the show?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they don't fit the mold of the typical high achiever, the prodigy.
Right. And then, bam, they end up accomplishing amazing things. It kind of makes you think, like, how much are we missing when we judge potential just based on, first impressions?
Totally. Like, what about those individuals who maybe didn't have all the advantages early on, but still managed to achieve incredible things? Their journey, the obstacles they overcame, that tells a way more powerful story than where they happened to begin,
Eh,
right?
Absolutely. And that idea, that's what we're diving into today. We're talking about hidden potential, and we're going to be exploring the ideas from this fascinating book by Adam Grant called, wait for it, Hidden Potential.
Oh, I love that book. He brings together research from psychology, economics, even education and sports to really unpack this idea of potential that might not be immediately obvious.
So, our mission today, for both of us and for you listening, is to gain a fresh perspective on potential. We're going to move beyond those initial judgments, the ones we often make based on limited information.
We're going to discover how to see the potential for growth, the potential for development, even when it's not flashing neon signs.
Right off the bat, Grant challenges this whole notion that potential is something you can just like spot easily right from the start.
Hmm.
He basically says you can't tell where people will land from where they begin.
And that really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? Because we tend to put so much stock in those early indicators, grades, test scores, you name it.
Like, those are the things we often use to sort people to decide who gets the opportunities, right? But if those are just snapshots, like Grant suggests, we need a better, more comprehensive way to figure out what someone is truly capable of.
And he dives right into some fascinating evidence to back this up.
Oh, yeah, he does. One study that really caught my attention was this research out of Tennessee. Economists, including a guy named Raj Chetty, they did this really interesting study where they followed a bunch of kids from kindergarten all the way into adulthood.
And what did they find? Spill the tea?
Well, get this. They discovered that by age 25, the students who had more effective kindergarten teachers, get this, were earning significantly higher incomes. Like, significantly.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
But what exactly made these kindergarten teachers so effective? Were they just drilling those kids on academics from day one?
Actually, that's the really interesting part. It wasn't just about early academics. These teachers were focused on cultivating crucial character attributes.
Character attributes. Like what?
They were emphasizing things like proactivity, the willingness to take initiative, pro-social behavior, how well the kids interacted and collaborated, discipline, their ability to focus and stay on task, and also determination, that grit to keep going even when things got tough.
So those essential life skills, the kind of things that go beyond just textbook knowledge.
Exactly. And these benefits weren't just fleeting either. The researchers found that these same students were still being rated highly on those character skills by their teachers, even years later in fourth and eighth grade.
So these weren't just temporary boosts. They were lasting changes in how these kids approached learning and life in general.
And here's the real kicker. When Chetty's team analyzed what actually predicted adult income from fourth grade assessments, guess what? Those character skill ratings were 2.4 times more predictive than math and reading scores.
Whoa, that's huge. So it wasn't just about how well they could read or do math at that point. It was about their character, their drive, their resilience.
And that brings us right back to Grant's central argument. Character, he argues, is like this foundational element of potential, but it's so often underestimated. He even talks about how his own understanding of character evolved over time. He used to think of it as just willpower, but then he realized it's more like a set of skills that can be learned and developed.
It's not just about having good principles. It's about having the ability to actually act on them, to put them into practice in real-life situations.
Right. He uses this example of someone who's a chronic procrastinator, but then suddenly they meet a deadline, no problem, for someone they really care about, or a super shy person who speaks up against an injustice because they feel so strongly about it.
Yeah, or even a bully who chooses to de-escalate a situation, maybe right before a big event or something, because they realize it's not worth jeopardizing everything.
Those are all moments where character skills are shining through, right? It might not be a constant thing, but in those key moments, those skills emerge.
And that's what makes it so fascinating. Someone might not be a natural genius in a specific area, but if they have solid character skills, that eagerness to learn, the dedication to practice, the ability to bounce back from setbacks, they can unlock serious potential over time.
Yeah.
And speaking of unlocking potential, Grant shares this super inspiring story about a chess coach named Maurice Bashley. When Ashley was putting together his chess team for the national championships, he ended up picking this player, Francis Idehen, who wasn't even in the top 8 players based on pure skill.
Oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah.
So why did he pick him? What was so special about Francis?
Well, Ashley saw something in Francis that the other, more naturally gifted players were lacking. He saw exceptional character skills, especially this ability to stay calm and collected under pressure, like serious emotional self-regulation skills.
That's so interesting because you'd think, like in a high-pressure environment like a national chess championship, raw talent would be the deciding factor.
You would think, right. But get this. When the team, they were called the Raging Rooks, faced a major setback during the competition, Ashley didn't focus on, like, fancy chess strategies. Instead, he reminded them about the importance of discipline, that fundamental character trait they'd been working so hard to cultivate.
So he went back to the basics, to those core values that underpin success, even when you're talking about something as complex as chess.
It's like those underlying character attributes form the bedrock of their ability to perform, even under intense pressure. And it shows that innate talent, it's not the only thing that determines achievement.
It's like the classic story of the tortoise and the hare, right?
Oh.
Slow and steady, focused on developing those key skills, can often win the race.
And think about Ashley himself. He wasn't some child chess prodigy. He actually didn't discover chess until high school. And he admits he wasn't good at first, but he was dedicated. He studied hard, practiced intensely, and eventually became captain of his college team and the first African-American chess grandmaster.
So his own journey is a testament to the power of character to surpass initial aptitude.
Absolutely. And Ashley's coaching, it had a ripple effect that went way beyond the chessboard. The discipline, determination, and proactivity he instilled in the Raging Rooks, it helped them navigate all sorts of challenges in their lives.
It's like those skills became transferable, tools they could use to overcome obstacles and make positive choices.
Yeah, like one of his students, Sharu Robinson, he had a really tough upbringing, faced a lot of adversity. But through chess and the opportunities it opened up, he got a scholarship to a prestigious university, earned a degree in criminology, and now he dedicates his life to teaching, giving back to his community.
So the success of the Raging Rooks, it wasn't just about individual wins. It was about creating a positive impact that spread outward.
Which brings us to, like, the core message of Grant's book, right?
Yeah.
It's not about how high you climb, but about the fact that you climbed at all. It's about recognizing the power of growth, of overcoming obstacles.
It's like shifting our perspective from what can you do right now to what are you capable of becoming.
You know, this focus on personal journeys and how individuals unlock their potential reminds me of this YouTube channel I came across. It's called Mindful Moments. They do these really insightful AI audiobook analyses exploring different stories of growth and development.
That sounds super interesting. It's like looking at these principles through a different lens, examining narratives and finding those patterns of resilience and growth in different contexts.
Exactly. And later in the book, Grant really digs into this idea that character, it's not set in stone. It's like a collection of skills you can actually improve and strengthen, even as an adult. He talks about this experiment with entrepreneurs in West Africa, where some got training focused on cognitive skills, while others got training in character skills like initiative and resilience.
And what were the results? Did one type of training have a bigger impact?
Well, both types of training were helpful, but the character skills training, it had a particularly significant impact on the success and longevity of their small businesses.
So those so-called soft skills, they weren't so soft after all. They had a real, tangible impact on their bottom line.
Right. And Grant points out how we often use terms like soft skills to describe things like social, emotional, and behavioral competencies, almost as if they're less important than those hard skills related to technical abilities.
But that's a misleading distinction, isn't it? Because even in fields like, say, finance, you need to be able to communicate effectively, build relationships, and work collaboratively. Those are all soft skills in action.
He argues we need to rethink this whole terminology because these character-based skills, they're fundamental.
It's about recognizing that being adaptable, resilient, and a good collaborator, those aren't just personality traits you're born with. They're skills you can hone and develop with effort and practice.
And that leads to this really interesting idea about intentionally seeking out discomfort as a way to grow.
Intentionally seeking out discomfort. That sounds counterintuitive.
I know, right? But he shares these stories of people who struggled for years to learn new languages, thinking they just weren't language people. But then their breakthrough came not from some sudden cognitive leap, but from a change in mindset, a willingness to embrace the awkwardness of making mistakes, of putting themselves in situations where they felt out of their depth.
So it was about pushing past that fear of failure, of not being perfect.
Exactly. And Grant actually breaks down this idea of courage into three forms: the courage to abandon familiar methods, the courage to try before you feel totally ready, and the courage to make more mistakes than others are even willing to attempt.
So it's not about being reckless, but about being willing to step outside of that comfort zone, to experiment and learn from your missteps.
And he argues that seeking out discomfort, it can be a really effective way to accelerate personal development. Makes you wonder how often we avoid things that feel challenging or awkward when those are the very situations that could help us grow the most.
It's like reframing those difficult moments, not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to level up.
So to recap, what have we learned today? We've learned to focus on the distance traveled rather than the starting point. We've discovered the crucial role character skills play in unlocking potential. And we've explored this really encouraging idea that those skills can be learned and cultivated throughout life.
We've seen real-world examples from education and sports that demonstrate these principles in action. And we've even touched on the power of embracing discomfort as fuel for growth.
And at its core, what we're talking about is a whole new way of understanding potential. It's not about spotting some pre existing spark of brilliance. It's about recognizing that everyone has the capacity to ignite, to learn and evolve, driven by strong character and a willingness to face challenges head on.
So it's not just about identifying potential, it's about creating the conditions for potential to flourish.
If you're interested in exploring these ideas further, I definitely recommend checking out that YouTube channel I mentioned earlier, Mindful Moments. They offer some really great insights into these themes of personal growth and development through different stories and analyses.
Sounds like a great resource for anyone wanting to dive deeper.
And as you go about your day, here's a final thought to chew on. If true potential is best measured by the distance traveled, how might we reevaluate our judgments of ourselves and others? Instead of focusing on current achievements, what if we paid more attention to the trajectory of growth, the obstacles overcome, and the journey itself?
That's a powerful question. It encourages us to look beyond the surface and recognize the often unseen effort and resilience that fuels true progress.
So, if today's deep dive has sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to subscribe for more insightful discussions like this. And please share this with anyone who might find it valuable.
And if you want to explore these ideas even further, we've included a link where you can purchase Adam Grant's Hidden Potential.
But most importantly, take some time to reflect on how these concepts apply to your own life and the world around you. Thanks for joining us.